Hey guys, today we're going to be taking a look at a few duels that I had with my Blackwing deck against a friend of mine who was using, a few different type of decks. In the first duel, I'm going to be dueling against a Masked Hero deck. Pretty simple for what I want to do with Blackwings. It's a pretty simple deck in general. You just want to swarm out the field. I didn't really get Black Whirlwind at the start, which was kind of annoying, so I decided to Bottomless Trap Hole to kind of keep things going, to keep Gale on the field because Gale is so important. He happens to have Gemini Spark, so that kind of, gets rid of Gale, which is unfortunate. But, when you don't start out with Black Whirlwind, it can really hurt what you're trying to do with the deck. So I could have MST'd there. I decided not to because I wasn't sure if I'd be able to, do any summoning or swarming yet, so I hold off. I have some good stuff to work with. I just have to wait for him to make a play. It's good that he drew into Pot of Duality because that means that if he's using it, he's not going to be fusion summoning yet or doing any stuff with that. So he's, waiting to do his plays. I'm not going to Torrential here because only one monster. So, I'm able to wait and just, see what I'm going to do. Obviously, him having a monster out is important for Sirocco. So now I Torrential whatever he's going to have bottomless. So that's nice because now I can get out Sirocco without there being really an issue. I could have also summoned Shura and I could have just snatch sealed him and then did an XYZ, but I decided to go with Sirocco. It's, depending on what you want to do. Sirocco is nice if you can get him to the graveyard for like Vayu or something. So again, he's summoning Neos Alias. Obviously, he has some kind of plan, so he actually is going to summon Bubble Man and then do some kind of XYZ. So I just Torrential works out for me because otherwise he'd be able to do, another play. He set his reinforcement of the army so he can get Bubble Man back and just do that again, but he's going to put him in defense because, it's not really worth the 800 damage. Luckily, I still have Shura, and I'm able to snatch Steel here if I want to, but Shura also obviously has the ability to summon more monsters. He Torrentials, so I can't make any plays off it. Thing about heroes, he has a lot of consistency. He can keep getting those cards, so he ends up getting Ocean. He might have ran out of Bubble Man. I'm not exactly sure, but now he goes with Ocean, which obviously will help him get some stuff back to make plays. And I drew in a Pot of Duality, very important because I obviously don't have any monsters that will do what I need to. So here I'm thinking between what I want to do. Zephyros won't help me that much. Gale will probably be better in this situation because Gale will be a tuner. He'll benefit from some of the other stuff, and I'm able to get over Ocean pretty easily. Whatever back row he has is not going to stop me for now. He happens to draw in a Miracle Fusion, which is obviously very, very bad for me. Now he can get out whatever he wants. He decides to go with Shining to really go over me with a high attack, so I'm starting to get a little low on life points. Obviously, I have some strong, magic cards I can use, so I end up using Snatch Steal there, which will probably end up, saving me. The life point gain will be annoying, but at least, I didn't lose the duel. He happens to draw another Miracle Fusion, which is pretty crazy. He draws two in a row. Luckily, I have Solemn Warning here, which will, again, save me because he could have gone into anything that would have beat me here. Now at this point, I can put down Vayu to protect me in case something happens and just keep attacking with Shining. Again, he's still gaining that life points, but I have a much better field, situation. He has to go to defense, and I'm able to draw Sirocco, which works out really nicely for me. I can just go for Regeki, go for Sirocco, and go for the win pretty easily on that. So in this next duel, I'm going to be going up against Lightsworn, which can always be very scary. I happen to draw into a lot of Blackwing, so I'm able to make a lot of interesting plays. I start out with Bora because I don't know, what he's going to start out with, and I like having some backup stuff. Bora works out as, something to start with. He starts with MST. Obviously, he's going to go in quickly. He happens to get Raiden, and he's able to mill and go over Bora pretty easily, which is, bad for me. Obviously, it could have been, an even battle, but he happens to mill a Lightsworn. Now at this point I have a lot of things I can do. Because I have Orochi and because I have Sirocco, I can easily go into Goyo. I went into Goyo here because Lightsworns need the graveyard, so it works out really nicely that I'm able to keep Raiden from being in the graveyard and just take him for my own, especially because he's a tuner. If I want, I could, go into Leo right now. If I want, I could save him for any other, synchro things I want to do. But for now, I don't do anything like that. Obviously, the game is to try to, kill him before he gets Judgment Dragon out, but that can be very hard to deal with. He happens to draw Lumina, so he's going to make a play with Lumina pretty easily with Raiden here. He already has a Raiden in the graveyard that I didn't notice, so he was able to easily make a play here. He goes into Michael, and then I think he's going to do Michael, but of course he goes into Judgment Dragon, which just blows up the entire field. And that happens to not be his only Judgment Dragon in the hand. So that's the game you play when you go up against Lightsworns. If they draw the cards that they need very quickly, then the duel can be over very quickly. Luckily, I do have Regiki and Allure of Darkness, so I'm able to just, throw that down and get rid of the Judgment Dragons, and hopefully do something with Shira. I use Allure just in case I can get some back row to help deal with it, but it turns out that I only drew back row. I only drew Dimensional Prison and Black Whirlwind, so I wasn't able to do something with that. I just have to rely on Shura, and I had no other play there. He happens to draw in a Blackluster Soldier, which is really bad for me. He gets so many powerful monsters so early, and that's the end of the duel for me, unfortunately. So in this last duel, I'm going to be going up against an Ice Barrier deck, which is definitely a deck that I feel like Blackwing should be able to handle pretty easily. I don't get Black Whirlwind at the start, so I go for Pot of Duality. All the cards that I can get from Pot of Duality are really good, even though I didn't get Black Whirlwind. So, I have some nice back row to start, and I'll be able to throw that down and, deal with things pretty nicely. Shura is always a great card to start with in this deck. Of course, the big thing is, what play is he going to start with? So he has Tidal, so he can immediately start getting Ice Barriers to the graveyard, which is really big for him. So he goes into Prior. I want to negate that because he can start really doing crazy stuff with Prior if I don't. But unfortunately he has Surface, so he can just bring Prior back. And this is the crazy stuff I'm talking about with Ice Barriers. They can just, bring their stuff out very, very quickly if they do have the graveyard set up. He happens to have a second Surface, so he can make even more plays. So when he gets this out with another Prior, I do Icarus attack because it's definitely worth it for me to blow up, the field like that, because then he doesn't have, really his plays. It was good that I summoned out Shura first, because now I can just go into Blizzard, get Shura back, and go into a Synchro very quickly. I could have summoned Whirlwind here, but I decided to leave it for now in case I need to use its effect more defensively, and I go into Yugioh here, which is definitely a good play for me. At this point, I got rid of a lot of his resources, but if he can bring out, another Prior or something like that, he'll be able to reuse that stuff again. Obviously, he doesn't have a play. He goes in a defense position monster. I happen to draw Bora, which is great because I can swarm even more. I could have swarmed with Vayu too, but it wasn't really necessary. So at this point, I can Synchro Summon. I can do a few different things. I decided not to. I decided to use Yugioh to get whatever he has there. So it turns out to be strategic, but doesn't really make a difference. I'm able to keep attacking with my Blackwings. At this point, I'm going to Synchro Summon. I'm going to use his card, and now he's going to be really limited in what he can do. I brought out two very powerful Synchros along with Bora, and he's just very, very limited at this point unless he can summon something crazy from the graveyard. Obviously, he has Tidal, but Tidal, it wasn't going to go over me before. Now he can use it to go over Bora, but it's still really not going to do enough because I can just ram him. Even if that card, that back row, is something really bad, I don't have to worry about it. I don't summon anything in case it's torrential, but it's not. I don't, take his monster in case it's torrential. But either way, I'm able to win pretty easily going over that. Really, that one just came down to stopping his plays. If he got his plays off, it would have been, more interesting duel. I would have had to deal with it in a lot of other ways, but I was able to stop Prior. And then the deck really doesn't have a lot of power outside of that. So I hope you guys enjoyed just taking a look at some of my plays with the Blackwing deck. Still getting used to it, even though I've been playing Blackwings for a while. I didn't get to swarm with Black Whirlwind as much as I wanted to do, but it still can be a very powerful deck, and it has a lot of different plays, and you were able to see that kind of throughout what it can do. A lot of really interesting synchros and swarming and stuff like that. If you do want to see my deck profile, I'll link it at the end of the video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.